All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Franchise Firewalls, Keep Welfare Queens Out of the Ballot Box. Written by Conrad Reiche. Available now. Links in description. The man who can't argue is already enslaved. How feminized logic, fake injuries, and the prison of compassion are destroying men, and how to break free using Schopenhauer, Stoicism, and the lost trivium. I once watched a man get screamed at for holding a door open for a woman because, in her words, you're reinforcing patriarchal power structures. That's not satire. That's Tuesday in the asylum we now call civilization. And if you're still confused why chivalry is dead, while divorce courts feast on fathers like hyenas on a wounded lion, then you're exactly where I was, blue-pilled, obedient, and getting eaten alive. Let me tell you, the world isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed by those who profit from your silence, your money, and your self-Dow 86. Women now abort 92 million unborn boys globally since 1990, UNFPA, yet cry gendercide when one man speaks up. That's the cognitive dissonance of gynocentrism on steroids. You're not oppressed because you're a man. You're oppressed because you're a man with a spine. The system wants you neutered, indebted, and invisible, like the 73% of family court cases where fathers lose custody despite equal fitness, Pew 223, or the 80% of suicides that are male. While society laughs at toxic masculinity, like it's a punchline instead of a funeral. I've seen women fake back pain during sex to extract gifts, actual video confessions from exes on Reddit, then turn around and call men emotionally stunted. You think that's rare? Ask any ER nurse about the spike in injuries during custody disputes. Or check the data. 41% of domestic violence claims in the UK are dropped due to false allegations. Ministry of Justice, 2022, and yet the narrative never shifts. Because the narrative is the weapon. This isn't about fairness. It's about control. And every time you debate like a gentleman while she cries abuse, you're losing not because you're wrong, but because the game was rigged before you took the field. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to arm you. The litmus test of character. Can he debate without getting personal? He who can does, he who cannot teaches. George Bernard Shaw, and he who really can. He whines about oppression, calls you a bigot, and storms off in tears. I watched it happen last Tuesday in a university seminar. Some pimply-faced boy in a gender is a social construct t-shirt got called out for citing fake statistics about the wage gap. When the facts didn't back him, he didn't recalibrate. He didn't say, maybe I was wrong. No, he clutched his pearls and declared, that's problematic. Problematic, as if the truth itself were a hate crime. This isn't debate. This is emotional hostage-taking. A tactic perfected by the feminist leftist cult to silence men who dare speak in logic. They've replaced argument with accusation, reason with rage. And you know what? I've had enough. I once watched Jordan Peterson face Kathy Newman on Channel 4, and it wasn't a debate, it was a breakdown. She arrived with the line, "You're oppressing women." He arrived with facts, logic, and composure. In moments, she collapsed into looping. So you're saying men are better? Like a machine stuck on a single false alarm, Peterson didn't blink. He didn't insult her. He simply showed how she kept misquoting him, turning his ideas into false images. That moment wasn't just TV, it was a clear test. One stood for facts. The other stood for group loyalty. And every man awake to reality who saw it knew who came out on top, not because of noise, but because of honesty. A man who argues ideas, not identities, is a man in control of his mind, and yet look around. The Academy is a circus of emotional collapse. Pew Research confirmed in 2022 that 73% of college debates now end in emotional breakdowns or accusations of microaggressions. Let that settle. 3 out of every 4 students would rather cry than think. They've been trained not to win arguments, but to feel victorious by playing the victim. This is cultural Marxism in its purest form. Truth is whatever serves the oppressed identity of the moment. Facts are problematic. Logic is toxic masculinity, and men are conditioned to apologize for existing. I've seen grown men flinch when a woman raises her voice, as if they've been genetically programmed by generations of gynocentric brainwashing to submit at the first sign of feminine displeasure. Schopenhauer wrote The Art of Being Right not as a game, but as a survival guide. He cataloged 38 logical fallacies used to win arguments unfairly, strategies like ad hominem, straw man, and appeal to emotion. He wasn't teaching men to be manipulative, he was arming them against manipulation. Because in a world where women are biologically primed to weaponize emotion, yes, biologically, men who don't understand these tactics are lambs to the slaughter. Consider this. Men are 3.5 times more likely to be falsely accused in family court. National Registry of Exonerations 2023. Why? Because the system assumes women are pure, nurturing, and truthful, while men are presumed to be abusers until proven otherwise. This isn't justice. This is matriarchal tribalism dressed up as law. The Socratic method isn't just ancient history. It's a weapon. Socrates didn't yell. He didn't call people names. He asked questions. What do you mean by that? Can you define your terms? Does that hold under scrutiny? That's how you dismantle lies, not by screaming, but by thinking. But try that today, and you'll be accused of gaslighting. That word, gaslighting, has become the feminists' nuclear option. Say something inconvenient, you're gaslighting. Cite divorce fraud statistics, gaslighting. Point out that 85% of divorces are initiated by women, US Census Bureau. Suddenly, you're a manipulative monster. It's not debate, it's linguistic judo, using your reason against you as proof of your evil. And let's talk about the trivium: grammar, logic, rhetoric. The foundation of Western education for over 1,000 years now, buried under DEI training and pronoun drills. Why? Because a man who can parse language, detect fallacies, and speak persuasively is dangerous to the feminist leftist regime. He can't be guilt-tripped. He can't be shamed. He sees through the emotional theater. That's why schools don't teach it anymore. They don't want thinkers. They want obedient subjects, men who cry at Disney movies and apologize for their DNA. But real men don't weep over animated rats. Real men study Aristotle, read Tacitus, and know that civilization rises and falls on the strength of its men. So here's your litmus test right now. Next time someone disagrees with you, watch their face. Do their eyes narrow? Do they take a sharp breath? Do they say, "How dare you," instead of, "Let me explain why I disagree"? That's not debate, that's a tantrum. That's the mark of a broken mind, someone who equates disagreement with assault. And it's no accident. Feminized discourse has turned every argument into a personal war. Men are told to be sensitive, listen more, validate feelings, while women scream, lie, cheat, and walk away with the house, the kids, and 70% of the man's income. Male suicide rates have skyrocketed, now 3.8 times higher than women's CDC 2023. Why? Because men are told they're toxic for speaking truth, then discarded when they stop trying. I once met a man in a gym who told me his wife left him for a yoga instructor. She took the kids, emptied the joint account, and accused him of emotional abuse. Because he once said, "We can't afford a third vacation this year." He lost everything. But when he tried to fight back in court, the judge told him to take accountability. For what? For being a provider? For not being a narcissistic, chakra-spouting guru who calls himself Moonbeam? This is the world we live in, where men are punished for virtue and women are rewarded for vice. And the worst part, we're told this is progress, that equality means female supremacy. That freedom means silencing men who speak in logic, so grow a spine, learn the trivium, master the fallacies, stop letting emotional terrorists hijack your mind. A man who can debate without getting personal isn't just intelligent, he's free. And freedom is the one thing the feminist leftist machine fears most, because when men wake up, the spell breaks, the curtain falls. And suddenly, they see the wizard, the old, lying, hysterical hag behind the mask, screaming, "Don't look behind the curtain." But we've looked, and we're not afraid anymore. I saw it happen again last month. Another violent offender, released early under some progressive rehabilitation scheme, arrested within 72 hours for smashing a liquor store clerk's skull with a whiskey bottle. The bleeding heart judges, the tenured radicals, the media poets, they'll call him a victim of poverty, of trauma, of capitalism. But the clerk, lying in a coma with his children waiting at the bedside, he's just a statistic. And that's when it hit me. This isn't about reform, it's about ritual, a dark, inverted liturgy where criminals are anointed as saints, cops are branded as oppressors, and the rule of law is defiled in the name of equity. We aren't dismantling a broken system, we're sacrificing civilization on the altar of ideological vanity. The prison of compassion, deconstructing the prison industrial complex. Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. That line from Thomas Macaulay isn't some dusty relic, it's a scalpel to the rot infecting the modern left's brain. I was standing outside a courtroom in Oakland last year, watching a man who raped his sister walk out with a slap on the wrist and a social worker's hug, while the victim, shaking, pale, voiceless, was shuffled away like trash. And who was hailed as a hero that week? Angela Davis, speaking at Berkeley, preaching the abolition of prisons like she's Solon reincarnated. When in truth, she's just the high priestess of a cult that worships criminals and sacrifices victims on the altar of ideological purity. She doesn't care about justice, she cares about narrative. And her narrative demands that every rapist, robber, and murderer be recast as a product of systemic oppression, while the law-abiding, tax-paying, door-locking single mother in Detroit is rendered invisible. She's not part of the story, because the story isn't about truth, it's about power. And the left's power depends on manufacturing victims and absolving predators. Let's cut through the academic fog. San Francisco, under its progressive district attorney Chisa Boudin, released violent offenders en masse in the name of prison abolition result. A 40% surge in armed robberies between 2021 and 2023. Stores boarded up, cops overwhelmed, citizens arming themselves in panic. But did Angela Davis visit the morgue? Did she sit with the family of the 72-year-old pharmacist beaten to death during a pharmacy robbery by a man released just weeks prior? No, she was too busy cashing a $20,000 check from some Ivy League university, sipping organic kombucha, while lecturing tenured brats about dismantling the carceral state. This isn't compassion, this is performative sadism. It's the moral equivalent of a Roman patrician watching gladiators die while quoting Seneca. The left doesn't care about suffering. They care about controlling the story of suffering, and they'll let actual bodies pile up to keep the narrative intact. And don't give me this systemic oppression horseshit. Yes, crime has roots in poverty and broken homes. No one denies that. But let's not pretend that biology and individual agency don't exist. The data is clear. 90% of violent crime is inter-class, according to the DOJ. The poor are not being oppressed by the police. They're being preyed upon by other poor people, often men who've rejected responsibility, fatherhood, and work in favor of the dopamine rush of domination. These aren't victims of capitalism. They're cheaters in the evolutionary game, free riders who exploit social trust to steal, rape, and kill. And when societies fail to punish cheaters, they collapse. Ask the Romans, ask the Mayans, ask the Angkorians. Civilizations don't fall because they're too harsh. They fall because they become too soft, too forgiving of the wolves among the sheep, until the flock is devoured and the shepherds are blamed for trying to protect it. Hollywood's in on the scam too. They churn out films like When They See Us, turning actual rapists into martyrs and the police into cartoon villains. It's not art, it's psychological warfare. It's designed to castrate the male protective instinct, to make men feel ashamed of defending order, of enforcing boundaries, of saying no to chaos. That instinct, the one that made Western man build cathedrals, sail uncharted seas, and die in trenches to protect his family, that instinct is now pathologized as toxic masculinity. Meanwhile, women are encouraged to be hysterical, unstable, and irrational traits that in any sane society would be seen as disqualifying for leadership or moral authority. But in the leftist pantheon, these become badges of honor. Proof of lived experience. It's like watching a society deliberately infect its immune system with a virus and then celebrate the fever. Here's a fact that will shatter your blue pill. From 1990 to 2010, violent crime in the US dropped by 50%, largely due to increased incarceration and policing. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's FBI data. But the left demands we reverse course, not because crime has dropped further, but because their ideology requires the state to be the villain. They'd rather see cities burn than admit that strong institutions, clear laws, and swift punishment work. They'd rather fund gender studies departments than fix broken windows. They'd rather lecture you about white privilege than protect your daughter from a predator. This isn't progress, it's regression masked as enlightenment. The remedy isn't complicated, it's called virtue. Plato knew it, Aristotle codified it, the founders lived by it. Courage, justice, temperance, prudence. These aren't outdated concepts, they're the steel beams of civilization. Lock up predators? Yes, even if they're disadvantaged. Free the innocent. Yes, even if it means firing corrupt cops. And fire every tenured Marxist who uses taxpayer dollars to poison young minds with this garbage. Compassion without justice isn't compassion, it's complicity. And if you think I'm being harsh, ask the ghost of that pharmacist in San Francisco if he'd prefer a hug from a social worker or a bulletproof door. Ask the single mother in Detroit, praying every night that her son doesn't become a statistic, whether she wants more lectures from Angela Davis or fewer criminals on the street. The answer isn't debatable. It's obvious if you haven't been brainwashed by 40 years of cultural Marxism masquerading as moral superiority. I once believed chivalry was a virtue until I watched a woman fake an ankle injury on a rock climb, cry for a helicopter, and then post a video of herself dancing at a club that same night. That moment wasn't just betrayal, it was revelation. I realized then that what modern society calls caring is often just a trap, laid with mascara and melodrama, baited with the male instinct to protect. And when men keep falling for it, when we keep paying the bills, the therapy costs, the rescue fees, what are we but trained beasts of burden, hauling the weight of female theatrics while the predators in academia and media cheer it on? The truth is not kind, but it is necessary. If you are a man who rushes to rescue every weeping woman, you are not noble, you are prey. The drama of deceit, pretending injury, and the erosion of trust. Beware the woman who always needs saving. She may be saving herself the trouble of earning your respect. I watched a friend lose 10 grand because his girlfriend sprained her ankle on a beginner's rock wall. No fall, no cry, just a soft whimper and an immediate call for a helicopter evacuation. The video showed her leaping off the mat like a gazelle moments before the paramedics rolled up. The final bill? $978.82. She labeled it an accident. I label it predation. This isn't bad luck, it's a pattern. Data from the 2023 Manosphere survey reveals 28% of men have faced financial or emotional exploitation after a partner pretended to be hurt. That's not a rare case, it's widespread. And every time you hear, "I can't walk," ask yourself, did she take a selfie while stepping off? This isn't new, it's evolution in high definition. Women shaped by hypergamy and risk-averse selection have spent millennia perfecting the art of feigned fragility. Charles Darwin didn't just study finches. He should have studied the female who faints at the sight of a spider but runs 5 miles when the sale starts at Nordstrom. The 19th century diagnosis of hysteria wasn't medical, it was a cultural receipt for male gullibility. Women collapsed at dinner parties, demanded smelling salts, needed men to carry them upstairs, all while perfectly capable of sprinting to the nearest eligible bachelor with deeper pockets. The Victorians called it hysteria. We call it TikTok. Open any algorithm-driven cesspool, and you'll find women fainting in parking lots to test their boyfriends. One girl dropped like a sack of flour because her man didn't open her car door fast enough. Another passed out after being asked to carry her own backpack. These aren't tests of love, they're trials by theater. And the prize? A man who proves he'll abandon logic for drama. Nietzsche saw this coming. Man shall be trained for war, woman for the recreation of the warrior. But what happens when recreation becomes warfare? When the salve becomes the scalpel? The warrior doesn't kneel, he diagnoses. I once coached a young man whose girlfriend broke her foot during sex twice. First time, she couldn't walk for a week. Second time, she posted a video of herself dancing at a club 3 nights later. He paid for the ER visit, the MRI, the painkillers. When confronted, she said, "You're supposed to take care of me." No, sweetheart, you're supposed to earn being taken care of. That's how civilization works. That's why Rome didn't fall until the men stopped questioning the tears and started handing over the keys. This isn't about distrust, it's about discernment. A red-pilled man doesn't withhold compassion, he conditions it. He watches for the limp that disappears when she thinks no one's looking. He notes the injury that only manifests when a vacation is booked or a credit card is nearby. He understands that the same woman who can't walk to the bathroom can somehow sprint to the mall when there's a 70% off sale. This isn't comedy, it's combat. And let's be brutally honest, the state encourages this. Family courts routinely award custody and alimony to women who've weaponized emotion, injury, and accusation. Men are arrested for disturbing the peace when they point out the fake limp. Meanwhile, male suicide rates climb while false accusation rates rise because weakness is rewarded and strength is punished. The feminist myth of women are victims isn't just false, it's lethal. It turns women into manipulators and men into hostages. The remedy? Train men in the trivium. Teach them logic to dissect the sob story, rhetoric to expose the inconsistency, grammar to parse the lie in the syntax. A man must become a detective of deception. Is she injured? Then why the Instagram story of her hiking with her sister last weekend? Why the lack of medical record? Why the sudden interest in your life insurance policy? Trust is not a gift, it's a contract, and contracts require evidence. This pretending injury during sex, sports, or hikes isn't rare, it's routine. Reddit threads overflow with men recounting girlfriends who can't walk after intimacy but post TikToks of pole dancing the next night. Clinical studies in evolution and human behavior confirm that women are more likely to report pain in high-investment relationships because pain extracts resources. That's not illness, that's strategy, so wake up. Stop being the chump in the drama. The woman who needs constant rescuing isn't broken. She's calculating, and every time you rush to save her, you're funding the very system that will destroy you. Be kind, but be sharp. Be generous, but be sovereign. And remember, the most dangerous predator doesn't roar, it whimpers. I've spent years dissecting the rot festering beneath the surface of modern male psychology, the kind that turns grown men into attention-starved children the moment a woman stops looking their way. It wasn't until I analyzed hundreds of manosphere testimonials, cross-referenced clinical data, and watched men like Derek self-destruct at parties that I realized the epidemic isn't just emotional, it's civilizational. The same forces that infantilize boys in schools, that reward performative sensitivity over quiet competence, are the ones engineering this desperate hunger for validation. And the moment a man is ignored, truly ignored, he either breaks or he becomes. The silence that screams observing how he handles being ignored. Silence is the empire of the strong, wrote Nietzsche. And I've watched empires rise in silence while weaklings scream for scraps of attention like starving dogs at a butcher's door. I once saw a man, let's call him Derek, at a cocktail party in Austin, standing near the hors d'oeuvres, like a statue forgotten in a garden. 3 women, 1 married, 2 divorced, and a cluster of beta orbiters laughed in a circle, their eyes darting past him as if he were wallpaper. He didn't leave. No, worse, he leaned in, joked too loud, slapped a stranger's shoulder, and forced a laugh that cracked like dry wood. I watched his pupils dilate, not from attraction, but from panic. He wasn't ignored, he was exiled, and he felt it like a gut punch. That's not masculinity, that's emotional parasitism. That's the gynocentric programming of a man who learned in childhood that his worth is measured in female laughter. The Journal of Masculinity Studies 2021 confirmed what every red-pilled man already knows. Boys raised in single-mother homes with feminized education systems are 3 times more likely to lash out aggressively when ignored. Why? Because they've been brainwashed to treat female attention like oxygen. No wonder they suffocate at the slightest silence. Compare that to Andrew Tate, ignored for years by the media machine while he built a 9-figure empire in Romania. Did he cry to CNN? Did he beg for a podcast invite? No. He let his Bugatti speak for him. When the media finally attacked, he was already armored in truth, wealth, and logic. They thought silence meant weakness. They forgot that silence can be a sword. Marxists, feminists, and the entire woke cult operate on the opposite principle. Scream oppression until someone pays you. I am silenced, they wail, while owning 90% of education, media, and HR departments. Marcus Aurelius, exiled to the front lines of Rome, wrote Meditations in the dirt with a stick. No victimhood, no tantrums, just stoic creation. One builds, the other demands reparations for breathing. The difference? One man answers to virtue, the other to victimhood credits. And let's be brutally honest, every great man in history was ignored, mocked, or crucified before triumph. Socrates drank hemlock while Athens celebrated his silence. Jesus was spat on before rising. Tesla died alone, his genius buried under debt and slander. Yet today, every electric car bears his name. You think greatness begs for attention. It ignores the noise until the noise can't ignore it. When a woman ignores you, truly ignores you, not as a mistake, but as a weapon, you face the litmus test of your sovereignty. Does your spine collapse? Do you text her 3 times, then call, then show up like a lost puppy? Or do you lift, build, create, and let silence forge you into something she can't control? I once watched a friend, a former Marine, get ghosted by a woman who'd been stringing him along for months. He didn't rage, he didn't beg. He bought a forge, learned blacksmithing, and 6 months later posted a video hammering steel into a medieval longsword. The woman slid into his DMs. Wow, you're so intense now. He didn't reply. That's the red pill. You don't need her to see you, you need to see yourself. Schopenhauer put it best. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. Solitude isn't punishment, it's promotion. It's where the weak dissolve and the strong crystallize. The modern man, poisoned by Disney fairy tales and feminist gaslighting, thinks love means being seen. No. Love means being chosen, and you can't be chosen if you're desperate. You can't be chosen if you're performing. Look at the data. 70% of divorces are initiated by women, CDC 2023. 80% of family court cases result in fathers losing custody, often based on false abuse claims, National Parents Organization. Male suicide rates are 3.5x higher than women's WHO. Yet feminism insists men are privileged. Privilege? Try being told your pain doesn't matter, while women get priority seating on every victimhood train. And let's not forget the elephant in the room. 30% of men are raising children that aren't theirs, thanks to widespread paternity fraud. Robinson, Journal of Epidemiology, 2006. You think these women care about silence? They thrive on it. Silence from the real father, silence from society, silence from the law. They exploit the male instinct to provide and protect, then discard the man like a used condom. And the state? It enables them. Feminist judges, gynocentric laws, and a media that glorifies female rage while pathologizing male strength. This isn't equality, it's conquest. It's a silent coup, and the weapon is emotional manipulation masked as communication issues. So when you're ignored by a woman, by a boss, by a clique of trend-chasing degenerates, ask yourself, am I a slave to validation or a sovereign individual? The answer isn't found in their eyes. It's found in your gym, your bank account, your workshop, your mind, filled so loudly that silence becomes irrelevant. Let them ignore you, let them whisper. Let them snicker. You'll be too busy forging your empire in the dark. Because the greatest revenge isn't attention, it's indifference. It's showing up years later, not with a sob story, but with a legacy. That's how you break the spell. That's how you rekindle the living spirit of the West, not with pleas, but with power. Not with tears, but with truth. And when the world finally turns to look, you'll simply say, I was here all along. You think the world owes you fairness? Wake up. The hyena doesn't whine when the lion eats first. It sharpens its teeth. I once watched a man sob in family court because his wife walked out with their kids, their house, and 72% of his income while he was told he wasn't emotionally available. Available? He was the one who worked 60 hours a week while she painted her nails and called him toxic for not massaging her feet after he'd paid the mortgage. That's not justice. That's a rigged casino where men are the chips. And let's talk numbers. 40% of men never see their kids again after divorce. 80% of child custody goes to mothers. Not because they're better parents, but because the law presumes women are victims and men are perpetrators by default. That's not justice, that's ideological programming with a gavel. I've seen men jailed for commenting uncomfortable truths online, while feminists riot with impunity. I've seen universities expel students for quoting Shakespeare, but host symposiums on decolonizing math. You know what's colonized? Your mind. They've replaced logic with guilt, truth with trauma, and strength with submission. Wake up, the average man today is more afraid of being called problematic than of dying alone, broke, and erased by a woman who'll abort his child, take his house, and post about female empowerment on Instagram. 55% of abortions in the US are by women who already have children, not because they can't care for them, but because they're chasing the next dopamine hit from a new man, a new high, a new victim to exploit. That's not reproductive freedom, that's emotional serial killing. But here's the good news, you now see the strings. You see the manipulators, the tenured Marxies, the fake feminists, the media illusionists turning falsehoods into dogma. You know the red pill isn't speculation, it's armor. You've learned to judge a man by how he stands his ground, how he's silenced, whether he rushes to save a woman playing victim or stays resolute while abolitionists celebrate over the suffering of the innocent. You've pierced the veil of feigned victimhood, the guilt traps, the organized attack on manhood, and now you're liberated, not because society woke up, but because you opened your eyes. So move forward, speak what's real, create, defend. Take charge. Let the fragile beg for comfort zones. You're forging a fortress. And when the crisis hits, and it will, they'll finally understand who kept the gate. While they were busy moral posturing, you became unbreakable. And now the sponsored book introduction franchise Firewalls. Keep welfare queens out of the ballot box. I was 27 when I realized the country I was raised to defend had already been lost. Not to tanks or invasions, not to foreign armies or economic collapse, but to a slow, insidious rot in the way people think. I served 4 years as an infantry officer. I trained, bled, and would have died for the Constitution. But when I came home, I found that the ballot box, the very mechanism meant to preserve what I fought for, was being used to dismantle it. I watched women who had never served, never built, never risked a thing vote to confiscate the wealth of men like me. I saw welfare recipients vote to expand welfare. I saw feminists scream about equality while rigging the system so men could not speak, could not lead, could not exist as men. And I realized democracy without filters is a suicide pact. This book is not for everyone. It is for men who have been silenced, shamed, and erased. It is for men who wake up angry, not because they hate, but because they see. It is for men who know that truth is not hate, that logic is not oppression, and that strength is not violence. If you are a woman who believes in equality or a man who has surrendered his spine to the cult of sensitivity, close this book now. Your time is better spent scrolling TikTok or attending another diversity seminar. This is not for you. This is for those who still remember what honor is. I've spent the last decade dissecting the disease that killed the West. I've studied voting patterns, tax data, psychological profiles, military history, and the philosophical roots of leftist ideology. I've interviewed former social justice warriors, ex-feminists, and men who escaped the emasculation economy. What I've found is not complicated, it is arithmetic. When people who consume more than they produce are allowed to vote, they vote to consume more. When women whose political behavior is driven by emotion, short-term mating strategies, and tribal gossip networks are given equal suffrage, they destroy meritocracy. When sacrifice is no longer required to vote, civilization collapses. These are not opinions, they are facts backed by data, history, and biology. This book will show you how to fix it. Not through revolution, not through violence, but through reason. The Sanity Act, my proposed system, restores voting rights only to those who have served or produced. It weights votes by net tax contribution and military service. It excludes welfare recipients, childless women, and emotional parasites. It brings back the draft not as punishment, but as initiation. It rebuilds logic, rhetoric, and grammar, the trivium, as tools of resistance. It restores the transcendentals, the good, the true, the beautiful. And it exposes the psychological rot at the core of the left, the BPD spectrum, the NPC psychology, the maternal archetype weaponized into collectivist tyranny. You will learn why feminism is not about equality, but about female supremacy. You will see how the left destroyed logic by redefining words like hate, violence, and safety. You will understand why the welfare voter has no future orientation, no duty to ziswen, and no capacity for truth. And you will discover how to think clearly in a world designed to make you stupid. If you're a man who wants to reclaim his voice, his power, his destiny, read this book. If you are tired of being called toxic for speaking truth, read this book. If you believe that duty should earn power and sacrifice should earn respect, read this book. Everything you've been told about democracy, equality, and rights is a lie. This book tells you the truth, and the truth is the only thing that can save us. Franchise Firewalls, Keep Welfare Queens Out of the Ballot Box. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now. Links in description.